What do you say, everybody? Welcome to Elephant in the Room on Roll Tide Pods. Get in that comments section. Get a chance to talk to national championship victorious quarterback, Mr. Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Like and subscribe to Roll Tide Pods, part of Disrupt the Media. And our show is brought to you by the great people at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Up to 50% price match to $1,000 on that initial wager. You got the Final Four. Maybe you want to buck the trend and take Alabama over Connecticut against impossible odds. Maybe you feel like Alabama's going to shock the world as a 11.5-point underdog right now. Maybe that even drops more. Right? Do all of that at mybookie.ag. What's up, Jake? Roll Tide, man. Look at you. Got the hat and shirt. You're double fisting right now.
Hey, I'm ready to go. Can't wait till Saturday. Cannot wait. That's hey, never has an Alabama fan had a Saturday to look forward to where Alabama's playing in the Final Four. And that's
Well, you know what? I saw AL.com put a list out of, I guess it was like every SEC team that's been in the Final Four. And it's not very often that an SEC team gets to the Final Four. I mean, you're talking about a lot of Kentucky.
I was about to say Kentucky had to have been number one.
Oh, yeah. Lots of times they've been there. But then it's like Auburn one time, Arkansas went a few times, won the national championship. South Carolina made it. Obviously, Auburn was the last team to do it, but it's tough to get there. I think the basketball tournament's the toughest to win.
Oh, yeah. You got to be consistent for, 5 games? Is it 5 games or 6?
5 to get there. Yeah, I guess 5 to get there, right? 2, and then the 1. Yeah, so.
Well, that's why, as a 3-point shooting team, I've loved Nate Oats, love the style, love everything about it. But the only thing that makes you nervous is when tournament time comes, are we going to be consistent enough from the 3-point line to, win 5 games in a row versus competition that is on par or better than us.
Yeah.
It lends an opportunity to beat teams that are better than you, obviously. But to be consistent over 5-6 games, to hit threes on with that kind of frequency, makes it tough to be that consistent. But look at us, and I wouldn't trade Nate Oats for anybody in the country.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't either. We got the best. I really think we have the best basketball coach, and he may lose this next game, but to come to Alabama, a place that really has never been a basketball powerhouse, and to really turn us into one of the top 5 or 10 programs in the country. And you have to give Alabama that. Winning the conference championships, winning the conference tournaments, which he's done, 4 times, in the mix again this year, 3 Sweet 16s, now a Final Four. And he's done all of that in 5 years, but really only 4 because they didn't have one in 2020. So you're only talking about 4 tournaments.
So 2020 was his first year, right?
Yeah. No, because we went. Now you're going to make me do math. I thought 2019 was, but maybe it was 2020 because then you would have had 2021 would have been UCLA, 2022, 2023, 2024. I feel like he's been there 5 years.
Well, it would be amazing. I don't think he's ever done worse than the Sweet 16.
Yeah, no, when they've made the tournament, right? I'm looking it up now because you got me thinking now. Yeah, don't throw me curveballs like that because then I'm like, oh, man. There's only so much I can do over here with this. I'm very limited with my abilities.
What's funny is when you watch these games and you look at Mark Sears, for example. The guy's 6'1", and he looks like he's 5'7" out there.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, because everybody's big.
Yeah, how massive these guys are.
Do you feel more comfortable being – you're 6'4"?
Yeah, 6'5".
6'5". Okay, sorry, I didn't want to cheat you that inch. All right, so you're 6'5". Do you feel more comfortable when you're around guys that are those big guys, or do you like being around normal sized people like me at 6'1"?
6'1's in the normal range, you know.
Like, I think it's funny. Like, I went to, and I'm not tall. I mean, but I'm not short. But I went to my son's school for something that they had, and I don't know what happened that day, but I was like a foot taller than everybody in there, and I was like, man, this must be what it's like for Jake. Just kind of looking down on everyone.
When I was playing, it was weird to go around, you know, because you're around Shank and Ryan Anderson and those big guys all the time, and you feel like you're a normal height, and then you go out in public, and it's like, especially with those guys around you, how much smaller everybody is. Everybody in the room just looks at you like you're an alien, you know.
Yeah.
But I've gotten used to it now, for sure.
Oh, yeah. 2019, by the way, was his first year.
Okay. Was it? Okay, so 2019 into 2020?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so he's never done any worse than the Sweet 16.
Yep.
That's incredible. From year one on. And actually won the SEC tournament, I guess, because the season got canceled mid-SEC tournament, right? Or before it even started.
It was, I think that had started or something. It was like, yeah, I think it was in the middle of it.
I mean, the first 5 years, never done worse than Sweet 16, and this is the first year we haven't won either the regular season or the conference championship.
I got it pulled up here. I found it. All right. 16 and 15 that first year. And then that's the one where everything got canceled, right? The next year, 26 and 7. That was 2021. Regular season, conference championship, NCAA tournament. Then the year after that, NCAA tournament, that was a 19 and 14 year, and a Sweet 16, right? I think, right? Yeah. And then the next year, which was last year, 31 and 6, regular season, conference champion, Sweet 16. And then maybe we lost in the first round in 21-22. And then we got to the Sweet 16 and then the Elite Eight Final Four this year with a 25-11 record. So he's 213 and 96 as Alabama's basketball coach.
Okay, because I knew we lost to UCLA in the Sweet 16 at some point after COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was his first year. So last year, 23 years. Yeah, so 21 had to be a rough year.
But still made the tournament, though.
Yeah. Hey, I'd rather be Alabama than anybody else in the SEC right now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've overtaken Kentucky. Kentucky's kind of, they're kind of second to both teams in Alabama.
Well, Calipari just seems like kind of content. And that's the problem that you have when you give away those enormous contracts. And it's like, well, we got a lot of freshmen and stuff. Well, look, man, you picked the roster. Go get somebody that's got experience, even if it's from another program.
Yep.
Instead of, you think that just because you have the most talent, it doesn't always mean that you're going to win. And you know how the game works. These guys aren't sticking around very long. If you get all of those lottery guys, maybe you get a couple guys that are, that are lifers. He's
always been a one and done guy. I mean, they did a 30 for 30 on him as the one and done guy, the guy that began pushing that as a coach. So this isn't new territory for him at all. It just seems to be, and he used to be in all the headlines. He was the man for a long time, and it just seems like that's all faded away.
Right.
Now again,
but he got like this lifetime deal. Like as bad as they were this year, in the tournaments, and they were out in the first game of both tournaments, SEC and the NCAA. And Kentucky fans aren't happy, but it's like a $33 million buyout.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. And you did it to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it goes fast.
Yep.
The difference between being on top and not on top is and I don't know. I mean, putting it back in Alabama, in our Alabama thoughts, it's like, it's amazing how Nick Saban was able to stay so focused with all of the success that he had.
I was about to go there too. He ruined it for everybody in terms of schools.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he gave coaches all the leverage because schools, ADs, fan bases all thought that a coach like that was going to be the standard once you paid him that money and they got to that level of success. And again, I've played for a lot of coaches and I've just, I've loved a lot of coaches, really enjoyed my time with them, but there is one guy who is different than any other human being I've ever met, no matter what profession. And that's Coach Saban. The process that he talks about is not just a gimmick. I mean, it's what he does every day, and each day sets him up for every month, and every month sets him up for every year. And it's the same thing over and over and over again. And even if you're not doing things, I guess the most efficient way or the most effective way, that kind of discipline and that kind of effort is going to get you to a place where you want to be no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
The guy that's always there and working his ass off the way that he does, I mean, he was going to succeed no matter what. But it just so happens he works harder and he's better than everybody too. So,
yeah, right. Well, it's big shoes for Coach DeBoer, but I feel like he's the man for the job. But just kind of keeping the conversation at basketball and Nate Oats. Nate Oats is the kind of guy that you could put on this show and he would fit in well. He just seems like a guy where the two of us could go and meet him at Innisfree and have beers and he'd crack us up. He'd know about us. Like, he's so well informed. He's so easy to relate to. And then on the same time, it's like, he's just got this personality, even though he's not from the South, where you just like him.
Coach Saban?
No, I'm talking about Nate Oats.
I don't think he drinks at all either. I think he's a very good communicator. I think he's, I don't know if he'd fit in. I don't know if he'd like all of my jokes.
I think he would, man. I hear him in his interviews. He knew Tripp from Innisfree, I heard him talking about that on the Next Round one time. And I don't know. I mean, maybe he doesn't have a beer, but he just seems like a guy who you would really enjoy being around.
Well, here's the thing: if you can recruit at the level that he recruits, then you have a personality that's magnetic. I mean, people want to play for him. They feel inspired by him, by his plan. Obviously, you get people to buy in that way. You have a personality that is infectious. Again, I've met him a couple times, and he seems like a great guy. Always got a smile on his face, always positive, but definitely driven to win as many basketball games as he can, and that seems to be the only thing that he can really think about. I mean,
right.
He's got a one-track mind, and I love it. I mean, that's the kind of guy I want,
Well, yeah. And it sounds like he said it. He talked to the other coaches that were successful about how they got there. And, I think that's, I mean, what he's doing isn't an accident. It's not like he came in and the cupboards were stacked. It's not like he came in and there was a history of ever doing anything, really fantastic in basketball. There's been a couple of coaches that have had success, but it hasn't really been lasting success. It hasn't obviously been Elite Eight or Final Four except one time. And, and this guy's just knocking on the door. I remember being around, obviously covering the Cubs when Theo Epstein took over. And one of the things they used to talk about winning a World Series was like, you just got to keep getting yourself in there. Like it's taking shots on goal in hockey. You take enough shots and you're going to get one in, right? I mean, that's kind of what you think. And that's what he's been able to do. You got to get into the tournament every year to have a chance to win. And you got to have good teams that, can win championships. You don't get to the Final Four by accident. And even as good as last year's team was and how talented they were, they didn't get there. But they were there and they got the experience of being there and they got of the tournament and the Sweet 16. And so I look at this and I feel like this series, this season, and this team has begun a transformation of Alabama fans. And I think we're going to be better basketball fans from this. We got a watch party at Coleman Coliseum. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. It's
about time. And I wonder if Theo Epstein would say that if he was the GM for the Buffalo Bills.
But I mean, you're right. But
I'm kidding. I'm right there with that sentiment. I mean, just playing in Alabama, when I got there, I got to a place. Of course, we had won one at Florida State, but that was like the first time in since '99.
Mm-hmm.
So it had been about 13 years or 14 years. But it was like a refreshing moment for the Florida State fan base because, obviously Florida State's so a legendary program and used to winning. And so it was like, I mean, thank God we're back here and we're back in the national spotlight, winning a national championship. And I got to Alabama and it was like, you make it to the playoff and lose, and it's like the worst. Of course, I knew that going in. I mean, I'm from Alabama. I know how it goes.
Right.
But as a player being in that scenario, you feel conditioned to know how to react in that spot and that kind of pressure. When you have a bad year or you've won, that the standard is to win every year.
Right.
And everything else is failure. And that goes a long way when you're training in the off season, you're practicing during spring, camp practice, not a game in sight. Everything is about winning and everything is about doing everything to the fullest of your abilities. So it's a culture builder when you go there that many times, and you feel like you should be there, and it gives you that confidence to finish the journey.
So much of winning is mental. I mean, you got to have a good enough team, but when you create the expectation, like you said, when you come to Alabama, it's a failure of a season if you don't win a national championship. At least that's where the standard is. Now, I'm never going to say that winning an SEC championship isn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But at Alabama, it's about winning that one and the national championship, right?
Oh, yeah.
But basketball has never had a culture like that. It's always been – it honestly, it feels like – and I talk about this a lot, like the women's team. There's an expectation that if you make the tournament, that you've had a fantastic year.
Yeah.
Instead of, getting to the Sweet 16 or getting to the Final Four, getting to, winning a national championship. It's just not what it is. It's, and then you look at Tennessee, I think they got to the Sweet 16 in women's basketball and fired their coach.
Yeah.
In women's basketball. And it's because they have a standard there that they expect to be competing for championships. They're not just happy being there. Yeah. Alabama football is the same way. Alabama football is not happy being there. No one is happy about being in the playoff and losing. Just, nobody's like, oh, we had no, like we're still talking about the fact that we should have beat Michigan, won the championship. Yeah. Right?
That's right.
And it's like there's so many fabulous things happening during the season, and a great coaching job by Saban and all of that, but they didn't achieve the thing that at Alabama you're always there to set out to achieve. This basketball program, what Nate Oats has done by getting to the Final Four, and who knows what's going to happen Saturday. They're one of the biggest underdogs in the last 20 years in this tournament. And what's going to happen in the game, right? Who knows? But when Auburn got to the Final Four, it changed their culture because all of a sudden they realized we can win here at this.
Yep.
And honestly, I think it raised the bar with us. And I love, it's a different, there's no such thing as an Iron Bowl of basketball. There's no such thing as an Iron Bowl of softball. There's not an Iron Bowl of gymnastics. There's only one Iron Bowl. It's in football. And the Alabama basketball rivalry is different to me than the Alabama football rivalry. And the reason I say that is it's just different. And, I love the fact that Nate Oats is like kind of sending over a little, hey, we couldn't let them be the only team in the state to get to the Final Four, but it's just a different sport. Do we want to win? Yeah, we want to win, but it's just different, and I just feel like there's a healthy rivalry that the state of Alabama now has become one of the best states for basketball in the country.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the 2010 through, 2014, 2015, that may have been the best performance put on by two different teams football-wise in the same state ever between Alabama and Auburn.
Right.
I mean, 3 or 4 national championships from Alabama in 5 years. No way that's ever happened before. That's when the national notoriety of it's always been a big rivalry, and I feel like everybody's known about it nationally. But when, we won in 2009, and then, Cam comes back or comes to Auburn and they beat us, they win the national championship, then we go on another run, win 3 more in 4 years. Or 5 years. No other state could have possibly done that. And it really brought, I know a 30 for 30 came out not too long after that run took place, just to highlight the Iron Bowl. But you're kind of starting to see that, like you said, in basketball now. 2 Final Fours from the same state in the last 4 years. And it's great to see. I mean, geez, I've never watched March Madness so intently, this long into the season, and I love it. I mean, again, last week was one of my favorite, by far, weeks of Alabama fandom ever.
Mm-hmm. And to echo your sentiment, I would trade all of the national championships in football except yours for a Final Four. When you said that, you know what, man? You said that. You really put us out there. Of the national championships that you would put out there to give up, which one is the one you would probably give up the most? 92? Would you give up 92 for the Final Four? The Saban ones, or would you go back to the ones where no one's alive anymore to argue with you? Back in the 20s.
Yeah, we'll bury one from back then.
I'm not willing to do that, but direct all your comments to Jake Coker right there. What's funny too is that the state of Kentucky used to be it was North Carolina's basketball. Okay.
Yeah.
And even in this tournament, I mean, look, there were 3 teams from North Carolina and the ACC. Well, and I really more than that, because you had Clemson, but there's 3 teams from that Raleigh area, Raleigh-Durham, that were in the Sweet 16. Obviously, NC State's still there. They're in it every year. Duke and North Carolina, right? I mean, every single year. That's to me the number 1 basketball state. So then the number 2 basketball state, you're like, okay, well, who's the number 2 state, right? The number 2 state always was Kentucky, right? Because you had Louisville and you had Kentucky, or as you would say. How do you say it? How do you say Louisville again?
Louisville.
Okay, so
it switches. It's I never call it Louisville. I never call it Louisville.
No, but it's Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
Somebody said to me the other day, they said tomato. I said, I've never heard a person ever say tomato. Can I have a tomato? Nobody ever said that.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
Potato. I've never heard potato. Now you could say Caribbean or Caribbean. Now, I've heard both of those, right? Anyway,
if you're going to call it Pirates of the Caribbean, you're not going to call it Pirates of the Caribbean.
No. So
Michigan might be the number 2 state in basketball.
Well, Michigan's there. Yeah, Michigan State. But I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, Michigan's had but I mean lately.
Yeah.
Last 5 years, I mean, Alabama, maybe even a little bit long, since Nate Oates got to Alabama and we've kind of established the fact that we're legit now. And Bruce Pearl's good down there. And honestly, Kennedy over at UAB is a good coach. I mean, Stanford made a tournament. Sometimes South Alabama makes it. It's a really, if it's not number 2, and I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, Arizona, California and stuff. If it's not number 2, it's definitely in the top 5, I'd say, over since Nate Oates arrived, as far as just basketball. So you couple that with what we do in football, and I think that the state of Alabama is the number 1 college sports state.
I was about to say, we're making up for the lack of professional teams.
Yeah. Did you watch any of the game between LSU and Iowa, the women's game?
I did. I mentioned that yesterday. I haven't sat down and watched a girls' game, and I don't know how long, but I saw that, the headline of that come up. I was like, I got to watch that, because everybody saw this last year.
Yeah, right. Angel. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so I had to watch it, and it lived up to the hype. That was a really good game. Caitlin Clark, I had never seen her play, and that was unreal. But she hit 10 threes.
Yeah, she got hot there for a minute, right? There's so much. Well, first off, that's why I constantly harp on Alabama for not paying attention to the women's program and just kind of letting it's like one of those, like a boat that has a broken motor in the middle of the ocean. It just floats where it floats, and no one cares and no one talks about it. And it's okay if the team doesn't finish good, or it's okay if they do. Women's basketball right now, who knows if it's going to be just this season and last season, but because of the fact that these players are sticking around and the skill level that we're seeing, it's as good as it's ever been. I mean, you look at the 4 teams in the Final Four, and it's legitimately 4 really good basketball teams and coaches. But that game, that Elite 8 game, the Elite 8 game that was a rematch of last year's Final Four. I mean, okay, so remember the end of the game where Angel's and Caitlin's, doing that to her face, yeah. which I always felt like was the worst show of sportsmanship of any game that I've ever seen before. I've never seen someone win and then taunt the star player on the other team and do it with, it's LSU has made themselves the greatest heel in women's basketball history. Their coach is out there complaining about a story that's coming out in the New York Post that's negative about the program, and she's dressed like Gumby in the game. and so she's and actually I like her, but she's dressed like Gumby. She's out there. Caitlin Clark. You got LSU down here in the South, and you got the middle of America, cornbread team, from Iowa, and it was just like such a contrast, and it was must watch TV, man. Like I couldn't honestly. Like you said, it lived up to the hype, and now you get to the Final Four, and you got the South Carolina and Dawn Staley, who when Dawn Staley wanted to be Alabama's women's basketball coach.
I did not know that.
Yeah. And so this is the story, okay? She wanted to be Alabama's women's basketball coach. She was in the WNBA and she was getting out, and she's contacts Mal Moore and Marie Robbins, right? Uh-huh. And they didn't hire her, and they hired Stephanie Smith instead. I think that's who it was, right? From Middle Tennessee. And the reasoning was because they didn't want to wait for her to finish the WNBA season. And so she's by far, she's the best coach in the country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she is the Pat Summitt of this generation of coaches, right? So her team's in. They haven't lost this year. Then they're playing Wes Moore, who quietly is another one of the great coaches. And Wes was at UTC forever and then went to NC State. And I'm just telling you right now, he was there for a long time, and overlooked. He finally got his opportunity. NC State is as dangerous of a team as there is. Plays this really fast-paced style where they hit threes, almost like a little bit like Alabama, when you get up and down the court. And then you got Caitlin Clark against UConn, and UConn might have a player that's as good or better. And so this is your Final Four. So then you couple that with our Final Four with the men's, and this is going to be an exciting tournament.
Oh, yeah. Well, you think about, back in, 10, 15 years ago, when Tennessee and UConn played each other, especially when I was growing up, I would watch that because Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt facing off. That was always, in terms of women's basketball, you didn't hear, a whole lot about it. But when those two played, it was a big story, And so I'd always watch those games. But like you said, now you got Gino, Caitlin Clark, Dawn Staley, and I don't know much about Wes Moore, but, 3 of the 4 of those teams are big storylines, no matter what sport you're talking about. I heard the Iowa LSU game, it was I think they had an average viewership of 12 million for that game, which is insane. That's a record breaking. That's more than a lot of men's sporting events in 2023. Bowl games and big NFL games. It surpassed all those. Not all those, but some games in 2023.
Yeah.
And to watch it, for me to watch a women's basketball game with a sport that I haven't watched a whole lot and see a product like that, I'm going to be dialed in for the rest of the tournament,
I hope that Greg Byrne pays attention to what's going on, because when you're trying to build a new arena, you can't have a program that brings in, 400 or 500 people to watch their events.
Yeah.
You got to get somebody that can come in and win. And that's what the whole point of me saying this is. First off, I think we need a new arena. Secondly, I feel like the men's team with this tournament run is going to change the way that we are as fans towards that men's basketball program. I think attendance is going to be up. I think that people are going to be a lot more interested in it. There was this guy, and he died 3 years ago yesterday. and his name was Fluffopotamus. Okay. And I used to sit next to him at the cigar shop at R&R Cigar in Tuscaloosa, and he would just talk basketball to me. And you know how cynical I am.
Yeah.
Do you think I ever thought that this was going to happen? I'm like, come on, man. Like, stop selling me on this. Like, stop trying to. I mean, he liked Avery, and then when Avery left, he was telling me how good Nate, and he would give you that look, and he'd be like, he's going to be really good. And I'm like, oh, sure, just like Anthony Grant, is he going to be really good? It's going to be like Hobbs. I mean, this could be great. And the guy was so enthusiastic about men's basketball at Alabama, and a great guy, and we all miss him. But I think that we're going to have a lot more people that are going to be into it because of the success that this team has had.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think, when basketball season starts, even when football's, at its peak part of the season, I think people are going to be ecstatic to show up to games and pull for us. And as long as we're playing on a national stage, like Nate Oats has done, anywhere, anytime, anybody.
I love that.
Oh yeah. And especially it's like last year when we were winning those games, as he brings more guys in and we win those nationally televised games. I mean, you have no choice. Almost at this point, you got no choice but to build a new arena.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm trying to remember. I've been in there a few times empty, but when the stadium's empty. But when you bring those recruits in, I know we're having Kansas, one of the top 5 recruits in the country coming. As soon as the season's over,
mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah. When they walk into that stadium, it needs to be a wow moment.
Yeah, that's so true, man.
Right now, you walk into an empty Coleman Coliseum, and it's. I mean, look, it's a great atmosphere if you're coming out of high school and you hadn't played in an arena like that. But when you played in big arenas, you want recruits to come in and be like, man, I can't imagine what this is like when it's packed out.
Well, like you did when you went into Bryant Denny for the first time, and you just like, wow, this is great. They've got to get it done. They've got to figure it out. And having teams that win like this, it's going to be more of a destination, so I'm pretty excited about where the basketball program is, man. I can't wait until Saturday. Now, as an underdog and an 11.5 point underdog, you know who the other underdog was that was a bigger underdog than us in the last 20 years?
Auburn?
No. Auburn should have won. Auburn got hosed by the officiating at the end of their. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
Woo.
Wait, which one? The Final Four or this year?
The Final Four.
Yeah, that Virginia. I'll never forget how bad they got. It was one of the Virginia guys shot a 3-pointer in the corner, and they called a foul on that. One of the worst calls. I mean, it's almost like that official calling a technical foul on that NC State coach at the end. It's just blowing the whistle to blow the whistle.
Yep. UCLA beat Alabama in 2021, and then they played Gonzaga, and they were a 14-point underdog.
And beat Gonzaga. Oh, yeah, because they were in the national championship. They lost the national championship, though, right? It doesn't matter. That's – well, at least somebody's done it before.
Yeah. But it's going to take the problem is that they got that guy that's 7'2" and 285 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's Erwin Dudley was at practice, like trying to help them like as on the scout team, which is pretty cool. Can you imagine you going back and helping scout for Alabama?
Yeah, I was asked to do that when we were playing LSU. This must have been, 2017. I think all the quarterbacks were getting hurt. And, Lane texted me. He was like, hey, we need a scout team quarterback. What are you doing today? We can send the plane down. And I was like, dude, I've got a job now. What?
Well, they'll let you take off of work for that.
Uh,
Gonzaga beat UCLA 93-90, by the way. But they were a 14-point favorite. See, did they pay you for that?
I mean, I can't imagine they would have.
They would have just sent the plane down to pick you up?
Yeah.
And were you doing this, like the same thing you're doing now?
No, I was not.
Because I would have just gone into the boss's office and be like, hey, man, Lane Kiffin called. Saban wants me up at practice. Like, you imagine that moment? Hey, Jake's not going to be here. He's running scout for Alabama football. That'd be a hell of a way to miss a meting, too. Like,
yeah.
All right, great to see.
Looking back now, my boss back then would have definitely been like, "Go ahead."
You didn't even want to get hurt.
I just didn't even want to bring it up. But yeah, Blake Sims and John Parker Wilson ended up doing it.
Mm.
But yeah,
did we win?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think we beat LSU at LSU. And I can't remember who the quarterback was at LSU that year, but they almost beat us. I think it was the year
Johnson.
No,
it would have been before that.
I think Jalen ran a touchdown in at the end to win, but I can't remember. Is there that year or the year Tua beat the hell out of him with that when he had that long touchdown with the knee brace on?
Yeah, I love those games.
Yeah, I like those a lot more than the close ones.
Yeah, the close ones, I don't need the close one. Although I'll take a close one in this basketball game because if it's close, that if we hang around with these guys, we could beat them.
Oh yeah, if we're just a few big threes away, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Again, this team, it's crazy how much they've changed and grown just since the tournament started. All year long you're sitting there and they just don't seem to have it. And then all of a sudden, tournament starts, they're playing defense and they've got a championship attitude.
What's the most unlikely championship game for you?
What do you mean?
Like of the 4 teams?
Oh, Alabama, NC State.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I mean, and it would be awesome. I'd much rather play NC State than Purdue again.
Yeah, can you imagine having to go through those two? But if you could, like let me tell you, I've got 3 brackets. Both of my brackets have UConn against Purdue. I got Purdue winning 2 and UConn winning 1, on all of them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not a genius. I mean, those were the 2 best teams this year with the big men. Everything told me, hey, they're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
If Alabama won the national championship, beating UConn, beating Purdue, could be one of the greatest runs of all time.
Oh, that'd be like, Alabama is better, obviously, than George Mason was back in the day when they made it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
But in terms of competition played, it's got to be Alabama. That'd be the toughest road. We got away with playing Grand Canyon, but outside of that, and we got away with not playing Arizona. So, but the final 2 games, I don't know if there's ever been a Final Four and a national championship that'd be tougher than playing UConn this year and Purdue this year.
Right.
Especially with the presence that both teams have in the paint.
Yeah. Yep. It's gonna be a hell of a Saturday night.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm excited and I'm happy. I'm proud of this team for fighting and playing the way that they did. So if we lose, I hate to say I'm happy to be here, but I am proud of them for making it there, and I will be disappointed if we lose. But man, if we win, I'm going to be on fire on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Imagine Monday. Can you imagine Monday still having another game to play on Monday?
Oh, we'll have to have a live podcast.
That would be great, man. If they win, we should do a watch party for the championship game.
Oh, yeah.
Just sit on here and watch the game, although
Shank and Ryan and we'll have to have a crew.
They come over my house. It'd be incredible. No, it's just it's insane, man, to get to this point, and really have a shot, But but to me, they have the least. Like I give Alabama a 10% chance, but you still have a chance, and I would love to be wrong, And I'm not saying I don't think they can win. I just think that it's a 10% chance. The other teams are better.
We're going to have an abnormally good game from beyond the arc.
Yeah,
that's going to be the key. If we shoot well, we got a chance. If we don't, we got no chance.
Yeah.
Whereas, again, a team that's more productive in the paint is going to be more consistent, and that's what they are. They still got shooters. I mean, they knock down the threes, but I don't know if anybody can run and shoot like us. That pace and that shooting ability sets us apart and allows us to win any game we play.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Yeah. So we go into this on Saturday and, hope that Sears gets some help from Estrada, that you get the Pringle we saw last game, that Stevenson makes some big shots like he did.
And, here's another thing. This guy, the 7'2", 280-pounder, offensively, we got to find a way to stop him. But defensively, Grant Nelson's a big guy. When you're talking about normal people, I guess, but he's still 6'11", and he's quicker, more agile than the 7'2", 280 center they got. So, there's still weaknesses and bad matchups for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, if we make our shots, you tell me what you think. I'm going to tell you what I think. If we have to hit the threes, we got to get out on them early. We got to get them running. We get up and down the court. Get that big guy tired, man, where he's just up and down, up and down, up and down, and don't miss those threes. Yeah. Just an abnormally amazing 3-point day, and it starts early. And then all of a sudden it opens up the inside, and that's when you score.
Yeah, Grant Nelson and Jaron Stevenson are going to have really good shooting games. They have to draw that guy outside, allow some driving lanes to open up for Mark Sears, and when he drives and kicks it to him, they got to knock him down. And then we just can't turn the ball over. That's been the Achilles heel a lot of times throughout the season. Just can't get out of control. Play with some confidence. Sam Walter's going to have to step up, play really well, knock down some key shots.
Yep.
Again, you got no choice at this part of the season. You got no choice but to play well. That's what makes the NCAA tournament so much fun.
Yeah, and I feel like they're going to play well.
Yeah.
I think that this team is, if they lose, they're going to go out in a blaze of glory. I don't think they're going to roll over like Illinois.
Yeah. I saw today we ranked 12th in most fouls committed in the country. And, it's kind of crazy you think about that. Somebody was saying that free throws are going to play a huge role in this game. And I wonder why we are so foul prone. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I know Grant Nelson is always in foul trouble. But maybe it has something to do with the speed of the game. I'm not sure, or maybe it's just being outmatched in the paint. We just hang on to people. But if we can somehow play physical without committing fouls too, not put them on the line and give them freebies. And if we foul, make it count.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think you foul when you're playing aggressive defense.
Yeah.
I'd rather them foul than do that shit they were doing where they were just turning and letting people run by them.
Yeah.
What I saw in this tournament, the passion and the enthusiasm that they play defense with, I don't care if you're fouling. You're gonna foul when you're getting in somebody's face, when you're blocking shots, when you're making it difficult, when you're using your energy. I'm a lot smaller than you, but you know what? If I'm in your face, I can make it difficult for you in basketball just by being in your way, and that's what they're going to have to do. I mean, the guy Klingen's going to get his points. He just is, but if he's scoring 2 and you're scoring 3, you're going to be all right.
And if they're earning every one they make, make them earn it. No freebies, nothing easy. None of these easy fast break layups. You just can't give a team like this any edge whatsoever. Make them earn everything they get.
Yep.
And you better make them hustle.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, we'll talk Monday one way or the other. Now, I do want to tell you that I'm day 3 of the fast.
Man, you look like you've been through worse than that.
I haven't. I've got to be honest with you. I've been preparing for this fast for a long time. I was thinking about it this morning when I was in the shower. I was like, so I've made it. I haven't eaten since I went to Freddy's and got an ice cream on Sunday night, right? Fat ass. And so I wake up and I'm like, if I was on a boat and we're on a boat and in the middle of the ocean and we don't have anything to eat, right? I'd probably be like, part of me would want to brag, like, hey, you know what? I've been preparing for this for a long time, but then I thought, what if I'm there with somebody skinny? They might eat me. So I probably wouldn't say that.
We can get the most out of this guy.
Well, the things that you think about when I don't know that I'm hungry though. You're the one that told me this. I'm drinking bone broth.
Yeah.
And it's not very good. But it's I forgot to bring it to work today. So I don't have my bone broth with me.
Oh.
And yeah, so I'm about to roll out of here soon and I'll get it. And probably have maybe 2 cups of broth instead of 1.
Yeah.
But the weirdest thing is, and we've talked about this before. You're a fast advocate. I'm fasting right now.
I say I'm a fast advocate. I replace a few meals here and there with the bone broth, but I am not fasting.
I have done. Now I have drank some zero sugar sodas. I had a Monster energy drink with zero soda. I rewarded myself today with an iced coffee from Starbucks without sugar and everything though. But it's like day 3 and it's like, man, I mean, you've talked about, I heard Joe Rogan saying that it's healthy for your body to do this because it'll get rid of a lot of bad cells.
Yeah.
But I got one more day in me. Friday comes and, I'm eating.
Yeah. I mean, I try to eat healthy, but the fast thing, I don't know. I'm already too tired to fast. When my kids get older and I can relax a little bit more, maybe I'll delve into it a little bit more.
I'm too tired to fast. There's this new, like, the team has a sponsorship with Yeehaw Brewing Company, and they have this new hazy IPA, and it's honestly great, man. And I just think, like, Friday after the baseball game, boy, I'm just, come on. Come on.
Letting the hair down a little bit.
I am. But I don't want to. The other thing, though, is I don't want to fast for 4 days and then eat like a homeless guy. I want to kind of like ease back in it, so that, like, if I do lose some weight doing this, that I don't just gain it all right back.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right. That's right. Well, yeah, you don't want to just ruin everything you just did. I mean,
I'll take the Chinese buffet. Have you ever been to one of those before, the Chinese buffet?
oh yeah.
Man, I got to tell you, I love them. Like, I don't just like the good ones. Now, there's a steep slope when it comes to Chinese buffets.
Oh yeah.
But the good ones, oh man, they got sushi, Mongolian grill.
Man, I'd load up on a great one, and I'd load up at a shitty one too. Dude, if I wasn't trying to watch my weight and be a little healthier, I could eat over 5,000 calories a day without even working out.
I was listening to this radio show this morning. My buddy hosts Brett Elmore, and he did this skit, this little bit thing where he was talking about the news of the weird, and he was saying that there's a place in New York that basically put a time on how long you could stay in the Chinese buffet, and then they would kick you out. And so he's a pretty big dude, you know. So he told this story at he had the music that they play at those buffets, like the Chinese music in the background, and he was talking about it like he did it. It was so funny, man. He said he fell asleep and then got back up and started eating again. And there was this, and having not eaten in 3 days, I was like, man, you know, I could probably get kicked out of the Chinese buffet Friday. You know what I mean? Like, get run right out of there. God, UCONN. What is it that you like best in those buffets?
You know, I guess it's the broccoli, the chicken, the cut up carrots and rice. They got wings in there sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, egg rolls.
Egg rolls, man.
I mean, I could eat 3 plates as big as this keyboard.
Oh yeah,
that's no joke. I mean, I used to eat more than my offensive linemen in college. I mean, they couldn't believe how much I could eat. But
you get out of here. You guys go.
You've done that way too much. That sounded way too good.
I've just been laughing about like the guy that's like ready to kick you out of the Chinese restaurant because the all you can eat place. Like like the guy's like looking over, like, you know, and then he notices that, like, you know, the two of us have been in there too long, you know. That's so funny to me.
What? Hey, hang on. You got an ad read real quick?
Yeah, I will. What I will tell you guys as Jake breaks away here for something is that Elephant in the Room is brought to you by mybookie.ag. And don't forget that right now, as you make those wagers and hopefully make a run, maybe you're going to take Alabama on Saturday. Maybe you got them to win it all. That at mybookie.ag, you get up to $1,000 price match on that initial $1,000 wager. And if you need a little help, check out our guy, Lance, lanceslock.com, covering college basketball, covering the NBA, covering Major League Baseball. Lanceslock.com's got you covered. You hear Lance on the next round, and you know that the guy's just like, he's a machine when it comes to information on these teams, the players, the coaches, the matchups. So college football, he does a great job with that too in the NFL. But right now with baseball coming up, hockey, you know, all those great sports, you can hit them all at mybookie.ag and get that help that you need at Lance's Lock. And, you know, finally, the other thing I want to talk to you guys about too is thank you so much for watching the show. Share with your friends, get in there and comment. Obviously, you know, Jake and I are pretty lighthearted when it comes to our, you know, sports talk. We like getting together and hanging out, but we want to bring this show to you guys. And honestly, the feedback that we've gotten from you guys and the fact that we feel like we've really come to know this audience and get to talk Alabama sports are the reason why we're going to keep this thing going. because we didn't know if we were going to stop after football or not, but it's just been so much fun, kind of cutting up with him and obviously Ryan and Shank when they're on, and then and you guys as well. So thank you so much for that. All right. Did you get all your business done or?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Another thing, trying to drink a ton of water.
Okay.
Hard to make it through an hour.
Yeah. Well, we're about there, but I had to talk about this fast because, you came over, we got a keg full of Blue Moon and it's just for you. And then you're like, you were like, I'm not drinking that anymore. Now you're back to it, but you were fasting, you told me about this bone broth and now I'm doing it. And I've made it 3 days. And then you tell me, well, maybe I did have one meal. You don't have the mountain to climb that I do, though, when it comes to weight loss here.
Well, I'm still working out really hard. I know you're doing your walks and your runs, but
yeah, not lately though.
I mean, I'm trying to work out, hard enough to where I don't have to worry as much about what I eat. But
what's a workout for you like? I mean, are you pumping iron? You still doing like the ropes?
I do it, man. I do it all. I do. I mean, actually, who I work out with now, and I'll have to bring him in on the podcast, Josh Hampton. He's down at QB Country with David Morris, and they train quarterbacks. And anyway, he was my quarterback. In Alabama, and now he's working for QB Country, and I just get a workout from him every day and do a lot of what I used to do at Alabama, and then a few other things that kind of evolved since I left. But all kinds of stuff, mobility stuff, weights, run. But I'm in there for about an hour, and I'm usually sweating pretty hard when I'm done.
Do you, when you're like lifting weights, do you make a lot of noise like? You one of those guys?
I was actually working out today, and KJ Lacey came in. KJ Lacey. He's their.
Oh yeah, from Saraland, yeah.
Oh yeah. I had it was funny. I mean, right when he walked in, and I'd never met him before, and I had Toby Keith, should have been a cowboy, just blaring in the, in the weight room. And I got up and we made eye contact, and I was like, and he had all Texas stuff on, and I was like, "Roll Tide."
So he's pretty locked in at Texas then, huh?
I guess, I didn't get into it with him, but I was laughing about it because I was in my head, I was thinking about I was just going to make up a couple rumors in my head and tell him, man, did you hear about Sark? You hear what? I mean, you heard about that, right? I had a few things in my head I was going to tell him and just be like, all right, see you later. I was just like, it would be so hilarious if I just called Denzel, Tuscaloosa, and was like, hey man, I need a job in just being the chief misinformation officer. Because I think it would be so funny to just, no affiliation with the school outside of playing in Alabama, and just telling recruits that are committed to other places. just bullshit story after bullshit story, and make them call their coach and ask him about it.
But it would have to be like stuff that's just so odd. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'll be honest with you. The scenario that I was thinking, I was going to be like, I was going to walk out. While he was sitting there, I was like, God, I want to do this so bad. But just be like, hey, man, did you hear about Sark? And he'd be like, no, what? Like, oh, you didn't hear about him being on Epstein's flight? Just be like, I want to check into that. But anyway, have a good workout.
Was he? It was like, hey, was he on that flight registry? Just so ridiculous.
Did you see him in the White House with that Viking helmet on January 6th?
It's so ridiculous. Oh man. I don't know with what's going on with P Diddy right now. I just nothing surprises me anymore.
Well.
Cat Williams went on Club Shay Shay, and it's just I feel like that was the beginning of just what's going to be an absolutely crazy year.
Well, do you think that him just? I mean, they had to have known something was going on prior to that. Do you think him just going on that podcast, they were like, "Well, we got no choice now."
I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, it's crazy that he went on there and did that, but then at the same time, like I've always liked him, and I found him credible. Like I found Cat credible on there. And it was like. It's so interesting. Yeah, I don't, but you don't. I'm not in that crew. So I don't know, but man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Obviously, it's just when you listen to somebody speak and you get this feeling that they've got nothing to lose and they really don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, like obviously he just done well. He has things to lose, but
yeah, no, I've got that.
Just doesn't care if he loses. He's happy. He's comfortable.
He's in a place where he's in a place where he's tired of the bullshit, in his mind. And he's just like, you know what? I'm tired of it. And look, I've been around professional sports in Alabama, and I got to tell you, man, there's a lot of stuff that happens that you find out about behind the scenes and you're like, there's no way. And then you find out that it's true, and there's, people cover up for people, and people get jobs that they don't deserve because they're related to someone, or it benefits someone else to hire them. They're not the best person for the job. And then in Hollywood, I mean, from, a lot of the stuff that you're hearing, a lot of really weird things have been going on, which people probably should be in jail for it. And so I don't know, man. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. Like the whole thing with P Diddy. I mean, they're following him around, and like, man.
There's no telling, from what you hear now recently, the Hollywood stuff, it makes you wonder about everybody who's famous.
Yeah. Well, here's what it comes down to. Is people that are actors are basically just pretending to be somebody else, and it's like, hey, you're good at pretending to be, I don't know, a fictionist character, right? Yeah. I'm thinking of a.
I know you're trying to put this the best way possible. I see the wheels turning.
I'm thinking of that movie that we want to write about the guy we call the mule. It's like somebody plays a character in a movie, and it's not them. They're just acting like they're just a character, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like they become famous, and then you hear a lot of these people, and you see them, and they talk, and you're like, this is the biggest idiot I've ever seen. Like they get up and they're spouting off something, when they get an award, and you're like, man, I mean, and people are like, gosh, maybe, and then it's like, no, they live in make-believe world, like really their whole life is make-believe. Like, so I don't know, man.
We could go down this rabbit hole, but it's going to get ugly.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good time for us to wrap it up for the night. But maybe once we get past the 8A game and things slow down a little bit, I think we changed the show from Elephant in the Room to the Jake Coker Experience, and that's when we dig into a lot of these other topics, because I know you have been itching to tell our audience about extraterrestrial life. And I want to be there for that. So
that's Mick, by the way.
you want to talk about, interdimensional travel and, obviously Skinwalker Ranch and all the stuff that you learned from that. And, Bob Lazar and Phil Snyder. And I'm 100% ears when you get there.
Okay. We'll have one of those podcasts dedicated to that. And I'll sit there and let you just take it away.
No, and I'll tell you, man, when you see Bob Lazar on Joe Rogan and he's talking about this spaceship, and I learned a lot of this from you, that he was reverse engineering that geologist found.
Yeah.
And the technology is basically bending gravity.
Yeah.
And geologists found it, and it's, hundreds and maybe thousands of years old. It just tells you, if that's true, where we are right now.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we should leave it right now. Just a tidbit of what the Jake Coker experience is going to be like.
It's like the Elon Musk statement that he made, I don't know, in the past year or two, when they asked him if he's ever seen aliens, had any contact or any evidence that he may believe leads to extraterrestrial activity. And his answer was no, but if we're the only thing here, that's pretty frightening. Or what did he say? Golly, I blew it. Anyway, he said basically if we're alone or if there are aliens out there, it's I don't know which one would be more frightening.
Yeah, right. Gosh, that's a whole podcast right there. I could do a whole podcast just on that thought alone. All right, Jake. Well, have a great weekend. What are you doing for the game? Are you throwing a party Saturday night? You having people over? You going to be in the backyard like last time with the TV up?
No, we're going to be at the camp for this one. It's my oldest daughter's spring break, and it's actually this week, but can't get out of here till tomorrow afternoon, and so going to enjoy a few days up there and watch it on Saturday, and hopefully I'll be celebrating with the family on Saturday.
I hope so, brother. Well, roll tide to you. Roll tide to all you guys out there as well. Get in that comment section, like and subscribe. Be part of Roll Tide Pods and Elephant in the Room. Some other great shows on the channel. Check out Chris Stewart talking about his experience with the Final Four with Kelly Hunter. That's been a lot of fun. And honestly, having been good friends with Chris for a long time, I'm really happy. I mean, from almost dying and me living through that, as one of his friends, like a lot of you guys are, to where we are right now, where he's getting to call the Final Four as I think the best basketball voice that's out there. And I mean, and I don't even think that anyone could really argue that. Him and Brian Pasick are awesome. So good luck to them. But he did a podcast on Roll Tide Pods. Check that out as well. And thanks for hanging with us, guys. We just talked basketball for an entire show.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping I'm here. Let's get out of here.
Let's get it. That's a great way to end the podcast.